us right in the middle of it.
Kayfabe was a way to show respect to the audience and respect your own business. It was a way to protect the man.
Ladies and gentlemen, heels and faces, casual wrestling fans, and all you smart marks, I am Mr. Richie Moon.
And I'm Kayfabe AJ.
And I'm Kayfabe Focus.
And this is the Kayfabe Ave Livecast.
Or the podcast.
Or the Kayfabe Ave Podcast.
I don't know, we'll figure it out.
Podcast, Livecast.
Livecast.
Potato, potato, the
Same
Bumps of
thing.
Jericho, or is it Y2 Jackson? Doesn't matter.
So, like always, let's
Oh,
start
man.
off the show by reminding you where the hell we at.
Music for my soul.
That's right. Right in the heart of SmackDown Hotel. That's
Yes,
where
sir.
Kayfabe App is located.
If you can't tell, I have a huge smile on my face. AJ, tell them what we are talking about today.
We're talking about. Well, let her tell.
Oh, you guys gotta talk about my party?
Becky Lynch. We got a whole episode dedicated to Becky Lynch. We're gonna talk her beginnings, her middle, her current rise, everything. Four Horsewoman. We're gonna dive deep into just who is Becky Lynch.
We'll cover it
She
up.
got a big spotlight on her right now.
Yes.
And I feel like a lot of people are talking about it, but not a lot of people are actually covering Becky Lynch.
Yeah.
So maybe we can give these guys a little bit of insight on just who the hell Becky Lynch is.
I think right now Becky Lynch is probably the hottest thing in professional wrestling right now. It's really for me it's interchangeable with her and the Elite. What's going on with
She's
the guys that are not
definitely
doing
outshining just
everybody.
the men,
She's the
period,
man.
everyone.
She made ESPN's power rankings.
Yeah.
Like she's just all over. Like she
Which
is the man.
Which is a crazy thing to hear because, ESPN kind of legitimizing wrestling on their broadcast, talking about Becky Lynch's on their power rankings. That's big, big ups to Becky Lynch
That's
for doing
huge.
that.
That's huge.
But
I want
Great
to
for
before
one.
we start. I want to say that because a lot of people get it like a misconstrued when Becky Lynch says she's the man. It had nothing to do with gender. And this is quote. It's walking into the locker room, the male locker room. It's like, sorry lads, none of you are cutting the mustard. I'm the man now. I'm taking over the ship. I'm the most victorious of all superstars of both Raw and SmackDown in 2018. I've won the most matches, therefore I am the man. Not of just the women's locker room, but also the men's locker room.
now,
Both
you,
statements.
who can argue that? In this current day and age, who can argue that? The only other person who can say anything remotely close is maybe a AJ Styles.
You know who's surprisingly up there too with wins? Finn Balor.
Finn Balor in 2018.
It's crazy.
Up there in
It's
wins.
crazy. Yeah, it is.
That sounds crazy.
I know it does sound crazy. It does.
The story of Becky Lynch doesn't start with Becky Lynch.
No.
It starts with Rebecca Quinn.
Ooh.
And
governments.
like, what better name is that? Like, she could have easily transitioned to like a Harley Quinn gimmick.
She could easily just use her real name.
Her real name. Her real name.
That's a good wrestler. That's a great wrestler
So-
name. Rebecca Quinn. Yeah.
Rebecca Quinn
Jackson woman.
born January 30th, 1987. She's only 31 years old right now. So she's got a lot to give. I feel like most wrestlers don't even hit their stride until like 35, 40s.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Yeah, and they get
So,
in that prime of
the
of, like,
fact that
40s.
she's hot right now, she's straight fire right now.
Straight five Becky Lynch.
But she comes from Limerick, the Limerick Republic of Ireland,
Okay.
but she's billed from Dublin, Ireland.
Okay.
And she started out in her teenage years, doing training for wrestling, everything. She even said that she had a training situation that wrestling even helped battle for her.
yeah.
Yeah.
So young in her life to be having those kind of issues. it's good that she found an outlet, and you know what? Everyone's benefiting from it.
It's funny. She was, she did an interview with Nina Strauss. Nina Strauss is the woman that plays Shinsuke. Well, she doesn't play it, but at WrestleMania, she plays Shinsuke Nakamura's entrance. She does a lot of things for the WWE. She's seen on NXT. And they were doing an interview with each other, and she was saying at the tender age of 15, how she had an intervention with herself. Like, yo, Rebecca, you gotta get yourself together. Like, you smoking, you drinking, like, get it together. And, her older brother, who
Also
Actually-
who's also a wrestler.
Not only that, had a big hand in training her.
Yeah.
Gonzo Demondo, I think that was his ring name.
Yeah.
They even occasionally were a tag team together.
Yeah. He was going over to England to train. But he was 19 and she was 15, so at that time, she couldn't go. I mean, I guess Paige had. I mean, that's different with her. Paige had,
And-
but
on their way to England to get training, can we even guess who she was going to meet up with?
So
Who was going to train
This is so
the
awesome.
infamous Becky Lynch?
She trained in Bray, which is like an hour away from Dublin. And while her brother was going to England, she went to Bray and trained with Fergal because he wasn't Finn Balor then. He wasn't even, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, this is he might have been calling himself Prince. I don't know if he was calling himself Prince Evan, but
I don't know if he
that
was
might
the
have been
prince
some kind
yet,
of
but
variation. of
I
that.
think at this point he was already the prince because to open up his own wrestling school, which he opened up along with Paul Tracy, for him to even be at the stage where he can open a school and teach others,
You gotta
I'm
be-
pretty sure he was Prince Devitt already at the time. For those who don't know who Prince Devitt is, we're talking Finn Balor, ladies and gentlemen.
He got a big hand in training, the man.
But this is way before anybody was even thinking about Becky Lynch.
Yeah.
Or fans now for that part.
There was no hashtag give Becky a chance.
Not at this time. And, she was trained at Finn and Paul's wrestling school. She also was trained shortly in the NWA UK Hammerlock promotion,
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
which was international offshoot of the
NWA.
NWA Northern Wrestling Alliance in America.
It's the world heavyweight champion.
They were open from about 1993 to 2012. They don't exist anymore now. But, so she had some good classical training. She was in the traditional territory system.
When she went to Devitt school, she was expecting it because Tough Enough was big at the time. She was expecting like to walk in like a huge factory with the ring and big muscly guys and a huge weight set. There was none of that. It was actually
let's give people a time frame.
Yeah.
She started training at first around June of 2002.
Okay.
Started making her actual wrestling debut November. So she only spent 5 months training with Finn in his school
And you know what's
before she
even-
actually started having her own matches.
You know what's even crazy about that is because like there was only 6 blue mats in there. Like when she first started training, she was only training with 6 blue mats. They were 3 months into the training, so she didn't actually touch a ring until 3 months of her actual training.
Wow. So giving her 2 months to prepare for her actual in-ring debut.
Come on.
Wrestling wasn't always in Becky Lynch's mind. She was actually going to college and she was studying philosophy, history, and politics.
Yeah.
But
She ended up
Yeah.
dropping out of school because she ended up hating it. It wasn't for her. And honestly, with the personality that she is, because the Becky Lynch, I actually went back and saw like all the tapes and her major matches and her lead up from the moment she debuted all the way to pretty much now. And the Becky Lynch that we have now is more true to who she is
Yeah, absolutely.
than ever before. So
Absolutely.
I don't see that kind of career path or field of studies being for her anyways.
It's kind of interesting. When I was first reading that, I was thinking, oh, that kind of makes sense because history and how the way she talks sometimes. But Becky, the version of it's interesting. Like the version, like you said, the version that we're seeing of her now is closer to her, and those are always the best characters. Stone Cold, him turned up to the Rock.
That's
turned
why
up.
she's even being held in the light of a Stone Cold Rock, even being talked about it. If there was a female section of the Mount Rushmore of WWE, she's etching her face on that mountain right now.
Yeah.
So, it's a reason for it, you know. So she started in the independents around 2005, and she hit a lot of places. We got
Facts.
FSF, which is Fighting Spirit Federation. She was in the WAW, Wrestling Associate World Association of Wrestling.
Isn't that where Paige was at as well?
I'm pretty sure because these were based in England, and you know, Paige, her family, they were all, you know, based around these territories. So
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure they bump heads. Get to that at a certain point, they do bump heads.
Definitely do, yeah.
She was in IWZ, International Wrestling Zone. She was in German Stampede Wrestling, GSW. She was all over the world. She even, you know, eventually made it to New Japan Pro Wrestling, which she was actually the first
Didn't know that.
female. Yeah, she actually was she. Well, I'm gonna say it in order, but she was actually one of the first women to wrestle for that promotion.
That's dope.
So there's a lot of firsts in Becky's career. A lot of things that people are, you know, probably know about through her WWE career, but they're not really seeing how big she's like becoming like a Shawn Michaels that's constantly involved in these first ever type matches.
Oh, definitely. I mean, she has the first ever match coming up. This
So
Sunday.
Yeah.
in the independence, like we said, she does end up meeting, fighting Sweet Saraya, which is Saraya Knight, Paige's mother.
Paige.
She goes against Eden Black, Sky, Nikita, Jersey.
Nice.
So Nikita was the World Queen of Chaos champion for FSW.
Mm-hmm.
She ends up vacating that title. And this is the first time we actually see Becky Lynch in any type of title hunt or title contention. And guess who was the person that she ends up winning her first title against?
Who was that?
Saraya Knight,
Nice.
Oh.
Paige's mom.
Mhm.
So
Paige.
they definitely, especially in the independents, they definitely had a lot of back and forth with each other.
Mhm.
So Rebecca Knox was the person who beat.
That was her.
Like she ended up winning the title against Saraya, but Saraya won the title from Rebecca Knox. And they ended up once Becky gets it, she dropped it back to Saraya.
Mm-hmm.
2.5 months after. So she was the champion for 2.5 months.
Not a bad run.
Not too much of a good run because she never recaptured it again.
Good choice.
But-
She ended up moving on though.
It's hard to get a title in the Indies. You know, there's so many people in and out, and so
Yeah.
many people leading
She was
the promotions.
traveling. Yeah, she was
And,
traveling.
you know, traveling from one promotion. She was never like. Let's understand. I list all these, but she was never solid in just one.
Yeah.
Becky was traveling the world.
Yeah.
So, yeah, she ends up dropping the title back to Saraya 2.5 months later, and
That should
let
probably
me see.
bring us around in about September 2006. Well,
Yeah,
where our hero of the story right now was traveling the world honing her skills, where she suffered a head injury in Germany.
in a loss to the wrestler named Kisu. So some of her symptoms were she got bust open, so
Yeah.
she had stitches. She started suffering from headaches, vision problems, loud buzzing noises in her ear. She was also diagnosed with damage to her eighth cranial nerve. So
Yeah.
she had a big head injury, and this actually
Took out
sidelined her. This took
6
her
years.
out of wrestling. Period. At this point, she was questioning herself, questioning if wrestling was even for her, if she should even,
Took her 6 years.
yeah. So
6
she's definitely. She actually came back after the injury,
Mhm.
and she returned for a SFF show.
You know, but before.
But
we
she
get
ended
there-
up no showing and canceling all her bookings after that.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so
She wasn't ready yet.
she felt she wasn't ready.
Like I was saying, in between that time, she did a lot of interesting things in between the time when she wasn't wrestling. You know, the clown school. She was a
She was a
stewardess.
flight attendant.
Yeah, flight attendant. And she was a waitress. She moved to New York City and felt like $2,000 was going to be enough money. Yeah,
She was in the wrong country for that.
yeah, she did some crazy, some not crazy things, but she had like some like really odd jobs that you just wouldn't think. But I mean,
So you know, Becky was a world wrestler. She wasn't one of these people that were
She's
bad.
out in the world.
Local
No,
ass.
she wasn't bred into the system. She wasn't brought in through like a diva search or something that
She did it the
was
old
the
way.
easy way. She did it the Chris Jericho way.
She did
She
the old school way.
The old school,
Yeah, right.
world traveler way, and
Exactly,
that's why
with
she was so
territories.
respected going into anything she did in the future. But around 2005, wrestling comes knocking again, and she starts getting that buzz again. And from 2000, she makes a return in 2012. She stopped in 2008 after that injury, and she returns in 2012. And
Wait, actually, she turns in 2011 because she was managing
Yeah, she-
Paige and Soraya.
but she wasn't wrestling. That's why I didn't.
Yeah.
But she came back as a
Came back as a
manager. She
manager,
definitely
yeah.
did come back as a manager. I have that in my notes. And she was managing Soraya Knight, and at that time, Paige was under the name of Brittany Knight. Brittany Knight.
Brittany Knight.
Let's just call her Paige here. So,
Paige, yeah.
and that was actually for the Shimmer promotion. Going back before she actually stopped to run, she actually had one more title run in another promotion. She was actually the inaugural Supergirl champion. She won this in June 24, 2005. She held that title for 10 months and 2 days, dropping it to Lisa Moretti April 21st, 2006. So she's a first-time champion for the Supergirl championship.
Yes.
That's not a title I'm too familiar with. I won't act like I am, but for her to be the inaugural anything, she, was leaving an indie legacy
Yeah.
before she even got into any, major promotion.
Shows you that she was a top person in that.
But also, like you said, you didn't know she was in New Japan for a short stint. But this was one of the highlights of her indie career, actually, her stint in New Japan. She was in the IWGP Women's Grand Prix,
Yeah.
and her team was actually undefeated
Nice.
in that run. So
Nice.
this was actually the highlight of her career. During she was everywhere. Again, to go back to all the
She did
promotions
old school. man.
FSF,
She tried-
WAW, IWZ, GSW, Supergirls Wrestling. She was actually Supergirls Wrestling, the inaugural champion. She was the inaugural champion for them. They're actually an offshoot of Extreme Canadian Championship Wrestling.
Oh.
So she left Europe, came
To North
towards
America.
to North America, and actually was the first champion in the first ever female off branch of that promotion.
Nice.
Pretty awesome.
So she was actually starting the wave back then too.
Yep.
The last promotion she fought for was the Shimmer, where she ended up no-showing, and funny enough, that's where she returned and managed Paige's mom and Paige herself.
Yep.
So that was for the Shimmer promotion. She's still with them for a while. She was doing her indie thing, and finally, in April of 2013, here comes the man with the plan. Triple H comes knocking, and
With the
she
hammer.
signs the developmental deal with NXT in April 2013.
Yes,
And there started.
A few months later, around August 29th is the actual day, they revealed that they changed her name from Rebecca Quinn to Becky Lynch.
Which started the legend.
That's what they usually do when you come to
But for some of
WWE.
them-
Well, WWE wants to own the rights to the names of the stars that they blow up, which is not a bad thing because you can go and become like Big Cass and take your name and do nothing with it, or
Yeah.
So she starts with NXT. Her initial debut wasn't the TV debut like everybody actually got to watch. She actually debuted for NXT in a live event in November.
Yeah, they always do that.
So that was in 2013. So she actually spent the better part of a year doing live events and training in the developmental system, learning the ropes, how they do it
Paying her
in
dues.
WWE. And she made her actual TV debut for NXT June 26, 2014, defeating Summer Rae in her first match.
Ooh.
That's
Go
pretty
back.
good.
And now, this is where I started actually watching her matches in sequence, back to back, and seeing the growth and seeing where she was. Let me just say, I have to get one in every episode, and
Oh, please do.
for those who didn't hear what I just said,
What happened?
her debut was disgusting.
What did
It
she
was a
debut
slap.
as? What did she debut as?
It
huh?
was it was a
Huh?
disgrace.
Talk about debuts.
We talking about the butts?
Are we talking about the butts?
Are we
The
talking
butts?
the?
We're
We're talking the
butts.
butts.
We're
here.
talking the
Butts.
butts here.
I heard that butt.
How did she debut?
I like that butt.
She was booked as a leprechaun.
Oh my gosh.
She was running down the NXT ramp doing this bullshit Irish dance.
Leprechauns.
We get it, WWE. She's Irish,
She's river dancing.
but do you really make Becky Lynch a leprechaun to come in? It was. I completely like
Delete
zoned that out
Delete that.
of my mind. You know what? That's exactly what I did.
Delete! 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 Delete!
I completely forgot, and I
I never knew
rewatching-
this. I didn't know this.
Rewatching?
I didn't know this.
I remember watching that actual episode. Like at that point, that's when I was getting heavy into NXT. So I remember her debut, but since I didn't know who Becky Lynch was at that time,
You didn't think anything.
it didn't click. I didn't think nothing of it.
Ugh.
But now going back and seeing who Becky is now and going back to that, it was a spit in the face. It was the equivalent of what was those the like bullfighter gimmick for.
Matadors?
It was like a matador gimmick. As a Puerto Rican person who's proud of their culture, you make the colognes the matadors, the sons of the founder of the WWC. You're telling me you made the matadors? It was like that. It was that bad.
Once again.
Yes.
Yeah, man, it'd be like that sometimes.
And I gotta get one in every podcast at least once. So to the person who thought Becky Lynch was good as a fucking leprechaun,
Absolutely, undoubtedly, unquestionably, 100% completely suck.
it was a bad move.
Start the new list. It's a list of stupid idiots.
And that includes whoever thought Becky Lynch should be a leprechaun.
That was horrible. And you could tell that even Becky herself knew that
didn't
she,
like it.
it wasn't her.
It's stupid. That's why. It's stupid. I don't blame her.
It just wasn't her. But even in her first match,
Uh-huh.
the crowd was behind her.
Soundbite from her actual first match.
That's her actual first match. People cheering for Becky. They already knew who
They
she
knew who
was.
she was.
Like we
was
said, she
undeniable.
was a world warrior. She was traveling the world.
It
So
doesn't
she
hurt.
already-
It doesn't hurt that you're trained by Finn Balor, and at that time NXT Finn Balor was.
Well, no.
the-
Actually, she made her debut before Finn made his
She
debut
did?
in NXT.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Watching
yeah.
her run, I actually
What?
got to see Finn's debut.
Wow.
She debuted before Finn.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, Finn was still in
He was
his.
still. He was still.
He was still in his Bullet Club,
Okay,
New
still
Japan
in
Pro
Bullet
Wrestling
Club.
stuff.
Wow.
He was still the real rock and roller.
So, I just had to make like a note on how horrible,
That's awesome.
how horrible WWE booked Becky Lynch to start. But her first match was a win against Summer Rae. I actually have in my notes horrible Irish leprechaun dance gimmick. Ladies, I made it a point to talk about the fact that gimmick was horrible.
This is.
But
Be like
this-
that,
her-
man.
her-
It
Be
was a
like that.
predetermined slave right
her
there.
debut actually went hand in hand to what the rest of her career would hold,
Like I said,
and because pretty much the next 3, 4, 5 matches
Mhm.
had a little bit of Charlotte. It had
The boss is taking over.
the boss taking over, and then we had so again at this point nobody's really
Because there was no hashtag give Becky a chance.
None of
Not
it.
at all.
none of that.
It was really
None of that.
quiet.
It was still quiet, Becky Lynch, every time she came out, she definitely still got the reaction that we're used to her getting. But she was lost. She was lost in the shuffle of who they wanted her to be and who she really was. And
Seemed like
with
a,
NXT,
a continuous thing that happened in her career for a while.
yeah, and in NXT there's a continuous thing where you'll be on this week and then maybe the next 2 episodes you're not featured because everything's pre-taped in NXT.
Yeah.
But so she was having like maybe 2-3 weeks pauses in between each appearance. So the next 3 appearances was in fights against none other than Charlotte.
Oh wow.
3 losses in a row.
Sheesh.
Horrible.
But
On
Charlotte,
TV? 3 TV losses in a row?
3 TV losses in a row against
Somebody
Charlotte.
just go get that shovel. I mean, did she look strong in them?
Oh, every match they gave her little dude.
Okay,
They definitely showed that she knew what she
okay.
was doing. But her first 2 matches in NXT, the first one was like, hey, look at me dance. Hey, look at me dance. Leg drop. I'm happy to be here. The second one was more like,
She was so happy to be there.
look how how fast I am, and she was doing like the multiple leg drop thing, and she still wasn't Becky.
Yeah.
It still wasn't Becky.
He wasn't the man.
So
Not yet. This is years before the mom.
yeah, so this leads into none other than Sasha Banks pretty much pulling her backstage and telling her like, you really think this is gonna work for you? If you want to get big in this business, you have to take it. After that, she had a match against Bayley, and in a losing effort, at the end of the match, attacks Bayley. This is her actual heel turn.
Ooh.
Becky's not a heel. In 2018, Becky's not a heel.
Nope.
People, she never heel turned ever in WWE television. To this day, she's not a heel. Her actual heel turn was in NXT, attacking Bayley. So now she's aligning with Sasha Banks, and they form. What was the name of their? Oh, they were Team Bay, Best at Everything. That was the name. Yeah, that was the name of their little gimmick or whatever.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
And this was after Sasha Banks found her own, because she wasn't always the boss, and she was a part of the BFFs, which was Charlotte and Summer Rae along with Sasha Banks, and they all kind of split over the title situation. Charlotte became women's champion. Summer Rae wanted it. Sasha Banks also wanted it. Summer Rae kind of drifts off the storyline,
Yeah, I can imagine.
and it's just about the 4 horsewomen. So, in this point, NXT is really the rise of the 4 horsewomen, and that's what I have in my notes, because their careers were literally intertwined
all of them.
for almost the next year, all 4 of them.
And
So,
They made
they put on such
Yeah,
good
so
matches.
Great match.
I
She
did
actually-
get a chance to watch some of the 4 ways.
she actually aligned with Sasha Banks on October 23rd, 2014 episode. And I got a little side note right there too.
Wow.
Do you know what they were trying to book her finisher name as? To
What?
disarm her?
What
We're talking about Becky Lynch.
Yeah, I know. But are we talking booking?
Like the way they were trying to book the name for her.
Yeah. That
Do you know-
Lucky Charm.
Do you want to know what it was?
The Lucky Charm.
What's the name you try to give her?
The disgusted armbar.
I'll get it.
Even the commentators didn't know.
Let's just take a second.
Renee Young was like, disgusted. I'm disgusted with the disgusted armbar. Thank God they named it this armor way better. But yes, delete that.
Just literally just.
This is horrible.
So
Yeah.
she ends up aligning with Sasha Banks, forming Team Bay. But anything, especially at this point where they were like Sasha's Ratchet, there's no aligning with Sasha Banks.
Yeah.
So this ends up disintegrating.
Don't you miss that Sasha, man? I miss that Sasha. I miss Ratchet Sasha Banks, man.
That ends up disintegrating because Charlotte ends up like covering for Bayley, who's gonna jump at this point. So now it's Charlotte and Bayley versus Sasha and Becky Lynch, but their team disintegrates because she tries to interfere, and she ends up costing Becky Lynch a match against Bayley.
Damn.
So that's where the tension between them starts happening, and now she ends up in a title contendership match. Bayley No, she ends up in a fatal four-way.
Yep.
In a fatal
We're
four-way.
in 2014 now. Yeah.
This was the first time all four horsewomen were in a match against each other.
Yes.
Every woman for themselves. Awesome match.
Yes.
I rewatched this too.
Yeah.
So this actually happened in NXT Takeover Rival. This is when Sasha Banks ends up winning the title for the first time. This was February 11, 2015. And I got it in my notes too. People forget Becky Lynch was a heel at this time. People literally forgot.
Yeah.
Becky was getting on fire so much at this point. Week after week, she let go of the leprechaun gimmick, and she was starting to get her little plaid suits, starting to look more like Becky Lynch with the Becky Lynch logo.
Straight fire, Becky.
And people literally forgot on television that she was supposed to be a heel. They're
She's
cheering
over.
the hell out of her.
Becky
And,
over.
This ends up after the Takeover Revival match, where Sasha ends up winning against all the four horsewomen. This leads into
I just want to go ahead and just give that a
This ends up leading to a title match contendership, which please go back and watch NXT for. It was Bayley versus Charlotte versus Becky Lynch. Awesome.
I watched that match.
Awesome match. The way it ended, Charlotte has a Bayley in the figure eight. And rather than let her tap her out, Becky goes for the pin. And she ends up winning while she's in the figure eight.
Yep.
Charlotte's surprised, really? This girl just stole this victory from me like this? So, please go back and watch that.
I'm
now,
too. Yeah, I have to.
Becky ends up on top, and she ends up winning the #1 contendership. And this was finally the point where it was like, okay, we're gonna give you Becky Lynch.
Yeah.
They start doing the little spotlight segments on her. They start giving little vignettes, or however you pronounce it.
Vignettes,
vignettes backstage. They actually have interviews with her now. They're showing her past history
Building
and
the character,
doing international things. And little by little, she starts. She's almost there.
Almost.
Finally, she has a match with Sasha Banks at Takeover Unstoppable, May 20th, 2015, and this was finally the birth of Becky Lynch. This was steampunk Becky Lynch. Goggles, gas, trench coat. She's finally full blown Becky Lynch at this point.
Hey.
So she didn't win her title match, but
This was just
after that they were literally Becky is that person. This was at a point where Charlotte was already, she was already in her not queen phase, because that was more when they came up.
Roster, yeah.
But she was already in her own, so she wasn't getting the title matches. This is where they were starting to really focus on Sasha and mostly Bayley, because around this time, outside of NXT, outside of the Four Horsewomen, on Raw, we're starting to get more women's matches. We're starting to get #Give Divas a Chance. We're starting to
Women's Revolution.
Or Evolution.
Evolution.
Hey, and speaking of, we always
Evolution
Cup, and we are actually watching Evolution, which we were at. Yes.
And even started a few chants, but
We did.
we'll get to Evolution.
Yeah.
But now on Raw and SmackDown, there's still one show, still one roster. They're calling for a women's revolution. And finally,
Who comes in now?
Stephanie McMahon.
Oh yeah, because Stephanie McMahon created women's wrestling. Period.
Oh, of course you did.
That's how they would like it to be known. But
We love you, Steph.
Stephanie McMahon ends up saying we need change.
What do you
They
say,
end up
ladies?
What do you say, ladies?
July 13th,
I'll tell you
2015 episode of Raw. That's where Stephanie calls up Charlotte, Sasha Banks, and Becky Lynch. Now, let's see, May 20th to July, 2 months after that big match against Sasha Banks she ends up getting called up.
Oh, Raw.
Okay.
All three of them end up getting
Yep.
called up, and this leads to Team PCB, Paige,
PCB.
Charlotte, and Becky. And originally they were supposed to be it couldn't because it was an adult site.
Submission.
Oh, wow.
Okay, submission sorority versus PCB. I think I'd probably go with submission sorority.
Sorority.
Yeah.
Sorority.
Sorority.
Well,
Sorority.
I would
Submission
have too. I'd have been like, fuck
Submission
that. Like,
sorority.
if
They didn't want to be associated with that. Look,
they didn't want
wouldn't
people
even
to look at
They
to
won't even
Google
put
it.
China in the Hall of Fame. Okay, so.
That's another story for another
But,
day.
but it's the same kind of.
Yeah, but she ends up. I kind of lost my train of thought actually right now.
No, we're talking about the PCB and the
Oh, right,
sorority
right.
days.
They didn't want them to Google it and then
A porn
it popped
site,
up
bro.
the
Yeah,
porn site.
absolutely.
I get that, but it was definitely a better name.
She lost her first match. She teamed up
This is
with
honestly
Paige.
this is when I want to say this was the transition to nice Becky.
Yeah.
And-
Because you know how when you get main roster, so they kind of they remix you up a
Ward you
little
down.
bit. They ward you down. You know how it goes. You know how it goes. So her first match was with Paige versus Sasha Banks and Naomi, and she lost.
Yeah, she ends up losing a lot going forward.
But she did at
And
SummerSlam.
she ends up getting lost in the shuffle,
Uh-huh.
and she's either teaming with Charlotte.
a lot of
or-
tag teams. There was a lot of tag teams.
They were throwing her around a lot, and this I really didn't like it.
Yeah, it was, but things started to change after Night of Champions. Paige turned her back on Flair and Becky, which kind of basically disbanded PCB. So that kind of set Becky off that separated the tag team because they were just putting her in a lot of tag team situations. They weren't really letting her be the single
Which is a
competitor
big
that we knew she
issue
could be.
going on in WWE right now.
Yeah.
All women are forced to be tagged with no titles.
But Becky's next big rivalry came in the form of Sasha
They got
Banks
tag titles.
and Charlotte Flair. The night after Fastlane, fast forward a little bit to February, it was Becky versus Sasha for the #1 contenders match, and Flair just jumped in and just beat both of them up.
Was this when Charlotte was on her heel run?
This is like
This was monster
this
Charlotte.
Is, this
at
is
this
monster.
point.
Yeah, this is monster Charlotte heel
This
run.
is-
This
this
is kind of what
This
they're.
is the Charlotte that we're starting to get back.
I think we're even getting a better version of that Charlotte now because I feel like her promos are just Charlotte's promos as a heel are crisp.
Yeah, the Air one.
and
She's
like-
like the bad.
she's
She's best when she's antagonizing people.
Exactly.
And
So I think this is the best because she has somebody like Becky's right up there, Charlotte right there. Now they're finally building Asuka back up to. But we'll get to that. We'll get to that in a
We'll get
second.
there
I just have to, yeah. But this leads into the show-stealing WrestleMania 2 Triple Threat Women's Championship match because
WrestleMania 32.
WrestleMania 30. I said 30, right?
You said
You
two.
said two.
Oh, yeah, good gosh.
WrestleMania, you aged Becky.
Yeah,
Lynch
actually,
crazy.
yeah, and Becky wasn't even
But-
born at WrestleMania. Was Becky born at, what was WrestleMania 2?
WrestleMania 32.
So 88, so
That was 89. The very first WrestleMania was 88.
it was 88?
Yeah, that was my birth year, so that's
Okay, so she was only 1 year old, yeah. So, yeah,
Um,
definitely not WrestleMania 2.
Yeah, so
She was
WrestleMania
trying to
32.
take back some.
And God honest truth, this is hands down
This is the show stealer.
the best match, not only of that night, but the best women's wrestling match, period, in WWE history. And at me,
Ooh.
say that in the comments.
Ooh.
Say whatever you want.
Ooh. Ooh.
IG, you're listening to us. YouTube, you're listening to us right now.
Hashtag kayfabe commentary.
If you don't agree with that, tell me what was the best women's wrestling match before that. But this stole the show in a card with Undertaker, Brock Lesnar, Triple H, Roman Reigns.
Oh man.
The women stole the show.
They definitely
That
did.
was
Really did.
honestly, that's the most rewatched match on that card for me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Becky Lynch,
Absolutely.
Sasha
Lynch.
Banks, and Charlotte. Sasha ends up coming out with Snoop Dogg, which is her cousin.
Yeah. Unfortunately, the hero of our story today did not win the match. And also, this is also a really important time because it wasn't, we just kind of skipped over that, but it got changed over from the Divas Championship to the Women's Championship and gave it that nice white and red belt. Ooh, I love the
Not only
women's
that,
belt.
like,
I love the
let's
women's
put it in
belt.
perspective for them. They were being considered divas,
Yeah.
They were being marginalized. They were being
Black
held
people.
back. You know, they were
Absolutely.
being used in roles on WWE
fan
that,
matches.
you know what, in 2018 climate, there'll be a whole shitstorm on Twitter the way that
Absolutely.
women were being used. And they changed
Yeah,
that.
the world was different.
And we have Lita actually in the ring presenting the title.
Yeah.
We have, you know, legends there.
It was a big deal. This is a super huge
This was
deal.
finally before this match. Stephanie McMahon's has a big meeting in the locker room, and she tells all the women, "You are no longer divas. You are superstars, equivalent to the men." And that night, they proved they were superior.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Best match on the card.
It's still a show at WrestleMania.
Hands down.
It's still a show at
WrestleMania.
WrestleMania. It's still a show at WrestleMania. So that's a very big deal. So we're
Well,
gonna fast forward a little bit because unfortunately our hero kind of lingered and just kind of
Yeah, she was
in WWE's broken universe.
Yeah, she was lost.
And
She was
they're-
lost in the struggle. She was
she lost
in
in
the
the
shuffle. And the good thing that comes out
Mhm.
of the whole situation, fast forward a couple months, the roster's so heavy. There's so many people on the roster. We finally get the brand split. We finally have a live SmackDown. We
Live
finally
Raw.
have live 3-hour Raw. And who's the first woman drafted to SmackDown?
Yep.
None other than Becky Lynch.
Hey.
And this would show and prove what she will actually get into the next couple of months, because
at that.
you know originally the women on SmackDown Live had nothing to fight for,
Mhm.
but she ends up being the inaugural SmackDown Live Women's Champion.
She deserves it.
On actually September 11, 2016.
Yep.
It was a
Deserves
6-pack
it.
challenge against featuring Becky Lynch, Alexa Bliss, Carmella, Naomi, Natalia, and Nikki Bella. So she, you know, kind of beat a who's who of the women's roster at that time. This is a time where we still don't have Asuka. You know, on the Raw side of things, they left Sasha Banks, they left Charlotte, and
Yeah,
those
man.
ladies were stealing the fucking show over there. So SmackDown was kind of like floundering a little bit, and
Yep.
this was finally like the rejuvenation of the women's roster, and another milestone in Becky Lynch's career, being the first ever SmackDown Live Women's Champion.
Yep. I like that much.
And the title was beautiful.
Yes, that white and blue title was dope. I was always a big fan of Becky Lynch. Always a big fan of Becky Lynch. She was the sole survivor for her Survivor Series team, but she was the first person knocked out, and they lost.
Yeah.
And at TLC, she lost.
But that's not her fault, because Raw's been beating SmackDown at Survivor Series 4 years in a row.
Even though SmackDown is the A show.
6-0.
6-0.
SmackDown's
6-1.
and SmackDown's still the A show.
Definitely.
Well, she ends up holding the belt for 84 days,
Yeah. And
which
losing at TLC.
in WWE standards is not that bad. It could have been longer, because let's be real, like
Yeah. She was kind of a transition champion, unfortunately.
a little bit. I mean, 84 days. I wouldn't consider
that.
that a transitional
But you know how
champion.
she lost this? She lost in a all of it's ironic. Ironic that we're watching Evolution.
Well-
She lost it to Alexa Bliss in a tables match with Alexa Bliss powerbombing her through the table.
Yeah,
It's
out
the
of
same
nowhere.
way she beat Charlotte
At
at
Evolution.
Evolution,
Well,
so-
yeah, that was TLC.
It all
December
connects,
4th,
it all
2016.
connects.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of full circle moments in WWE, and when they actually pull that off,
Yeah.
it shows how good the storytelling can be. But you only get that in rare moments, and actually when the wrestlers themselves keep canon in the back of their mind and use it in their promos, you know. So yeah,
she got
84 days as champ, she dropped it to Bliss.
Yeah, she got her rematch on SmackDown Live in January 17th, 2017 against Miss Bliss in a steel cage match, but she lost due to an interference. But a mass, this was I think they were doing like a mass luchador
La
angle.
Luchadora.
La luchadora. And it revealed to be a returning Mickey James. I was very happy. I like Miss James. Miss Oldest, you know.
Now, Alexa Bliss ended up going on a little tear with that title.
Yeah,
She
yeah.
went on a tear with that title. So, the next couple of months in 2017,
This is
she's really not doing much.
yeah, she failed to beat Bliss
She's
for the
losing-
vacant
she's
SmackDowns.
Losing
champion.
almost every match she's in. She's in,
She's
you
in a
know,
bit of a rut.
she's
Yeah.
in promos backstage. You know,
She
at this
did-
time, Charlotte moves back over to SmackDown,
Then
and she's doing little tea segments and little.
yeah. Well,
I'm Charlotte's friend.
She was in the 6-pack challenge at WrestleMania 33, which I was there for. But Naomi ended up winning that, and that crowd popped harsh for her. But she's from Orlando, but that crowd, I know
The
that's
six pack. That's where Naomi won the belt.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, right.
yeah. The crowd was electric for Naomi. That was awesome. It was a really big pop. She deserved it. Naomi was on the roll at that time, so she definitely deserved it. But yeah, she came in. We're gonna fast. I mean, I hate to do this, but she just
They
sometimes
really don't do much.
you get caught in the WWE mid card and not being on TV, and
This was the rut, but honestly, if it wasn't for this rut she was in, her rise
this is
Would have been.
would have been,
Exactly.
because at this point the fans, this entire time the fans are like, Becky, Becky, Becky. They're chanting for her every show. Win or lose, people are behind Becky Lynch.
it's over.
Every time she gets close to a victory, it's somehow the way they booked it, which kind of was pretty good. The way they booked it was she'll be the one whooping ass, getting this close to the win, and then boom, they slide it right from under her feet. Someone else ends up being, the champion or ends up winning the match. And they do this for the better part of a year.
But she came, but things start a little bit starting to change. So we get to the first women's Royal Rumble. She came at number 2 and she lasted 30 minutes. Unfortunately, she also lost at the Women's Battle Royal at that WrestleMania. So that'll be WrestleMania 34.
Yeah.
But this is when things start to change,
Then
right?
the first ever women's Money in the Bank match.
No, this isn't the first ever one. Is this the first? Oh, yes, this is the
This
first
is the
one.
first
Yeah,
ever.
yeah, this is the first ever one. So right after the first ever women's
And
Money in
that
the Bank
goes
match.
back to my point. Becky, if you're keeping track, she's a part of a lot of first ever stuff. A lot
first
of first
ever
ever matches.
First inaugural, obviously
Inaugural
first one.
champion.
But yeah.
So Becky's prestigious still, but
She
she's
is.
still not winning. And
She's
the
not
big
the man yet.
the big
not yet.
controversy in that match was Becky was climbing that title.
Oh, gosh.
climbing that ladder for the title. And every time she climbed to the top, the arena was going nuts.
Remember how that match ended? I don't even want to talk about how that match ended. It
Well,
was so stupid.
The match unfortunately ends with the man climbing the ladder, taking the briefcase off, and handing it to Carmella. As much as Mella is money, everyone hated that finish.
And then they did the same
Yeah.
exact match
Even-
on SmackDown, and Carmella
To redeem it, and
yeah.
Carmella ends up winning. Everybody thought
Yeah.
Becky Lynch was gonna win that one because
Oh.
that's how much fire she got from that
But hey,
off that
She
match.
was
But
yep. But hey,
they
it's
didn't
good
ignore
that
it.
she-
They didn't ignore it after that though. After that
good that
first
she
ever
did.
Money in the Bank, now we see Becky getting back into her stride.
Yeah, because after that, she goes on a tear. She just starts beating everybody. Everybody that gets thrown in Becky Lynch's way, she beats, which leads ultimately to a title shot at SummerSlam. Now, interestingly enough, while Becky Lynch is on this tear,
But
Charlotte Flair wasn't in the scene. So Becky Lynch is going on a tear. She's crashing. She's
look
crawling.
at the list of people she's beating. She beat both Iconics. She beat Mandy Rose. She beat Sonya Deville. She beat the champion. That's almost half of the roster
Yeah.
of women.
Right.
Yeah.
That she's after that Money in the Bank match. That's almost half the women's roster of SmackDown she already beat,
Yep.
including the champion.
Oh yeah, she beat the champion for the championship match. I can't stand when they do that, but that's what they did.
Yeah, she beat the champion for the title match that she earns at the SummerSlam you're talking about.
And then during this entire time, Charlotte is out with injury, and when Charlotte comes back, she's like almost automatically granted a title shot. So, as good as friends as Charlotte and Becky are, Charlotte, you can see it in Becky's face. I was just like, yo, like.
She wants to.
You know, she just came out of nowhere and just got this title shot. I've been busting ass for the last couple of months, and I just got this.
But leading into SummerSlam, they were doing the whole thing, and even Carmella was like rubbing it in her face, like your homegirl just stole your shine, like
Yep.
trying to get them. And Becky the whole time is like, we're friends, like we good, we just gonna do our own thing when it comes to the match.
Yeah.
But comes the match, she
the match.
she literally got robbed.
Becky
Oh,
Lynch
that
was
win.
about to win the match, and then Charlotte hit the natural selection on
Becky and then pins
and
Carmella.
pinned Carmella.
So literally he got robbed of the match.
And then after the match,
Pure Charlotte Flair heel shit.
after Charlotte like literally steals the match from Becky, all that pent up aggression, you can see it, the aggression that's been building up and that's been building up in Becky, it finally came out and she just whipped Charlotte's ass all over that
Now,
ring, and the crowd went crazy.
Yeah, this is a level of aggression.
Yes, which you guys were at.
I was there.
Yeah, these two.
Focused,
yeah, you guys are at SummerSlam.
So
yeah,
this is a level of aggression we've never seen from Becky.
No.
The crowd was just off their feet. She had like a standing O. Everyone was going crazy. The whole match, they were chanting for Becky.
Yeah,
a lot of people were like,
remember that.
if Becky loses, we riot. Like it was that level of fan heat. Like people just wanted Becky to win. Everybody thought Becky was gonna win. This was the crowning moment.
Yeah, I definitely thought that Becky was gonna win.
Once again, after 2 years, because it's 2 years since she's been SmackDown Live Women's Champion. 2 years you're climbing up the ranks. 2 years you're beating everybody or losing to your best friend. Oh my God, she whooped her ass.
Yeah.
She
awesome.
whooped her ass that night.
But it's they tried to spin it to with WWE. They wanted Charlotte to be the face and Becky to be the heel, but clearly we were all behind Becky because we understood it. We understood it. Like, but we've been watching Becky fight. Charlotte comes back, whoop, it's like literally
Not
just
only that,
had her right on
outside of Charlotte, she's probably the most technically gifted out of all the 4 horsewomen.
Yeah, I mean she's right up there.
And the 4 horsewomen are the end all be all when it comes to women's wrestling in WWE.
Yeah, definitely. They definitely are the foundation stable and glue that holds on.
Yeah, there would have been no successful women's revolution without them.
Yeah, you can add Ronda to that now.
No, yeah, Ronda definitely earned that now.
Yeah.
But yeah, so SummerSlam comes and goes, and Becky didn't win.
So yeah, they were trying to portray Becky as a heel, but we all know that she was a storyline. We all knew the storyline was, what they were trying to do, but we all knew that Becky was a badass. She was right to attack Charlotte. Charlotte came out of nowhere and saw a title shot. And this is when this starts what I call like the Becky revolution. This is when Becky becomes the man.
I am the man.
Yes. This is when this really starts because Becky just goes straight fire. I mean,
she just snaps into that new
let me give you
Stone Cold Steve Austin like attitude. Grabbing that grass ring.
And there was no denying Becky at this point.
yeah, because she gets
every promo from SummerSlam on with Becky has been ridiculous. Even her online interaction, she's been really pulling the social media cards, Twitter, Instagram, destroying everybody.
Sorry, Seth Rollins. I know Seth Rollins pissed off at
with his fire pants.
Yo,
bring your fire pants.
But Becky flames everybody. Becky flamed Chris Jericho. Like, she flamed Jericho. She said, little known fact, I actually got a concussion because I listened to Chris Jericho's album. Damn.
Jericho hit her back with a good zinger too. I forgot what he said.
Nah. That was her response. Like he hit her with a zinger, and then that's when she responded back.
Oh,
okay. She
hit her with the 1-2.
But back to the timeline. So her and Charlotte are feuding for a couple of weeks. Charlotte is a champion, and at Hell in a Cell.
Speak of the devil, we finally got to the Becky Lynch versus Charlotte match.
Yes. Oh, that's such
watch
a good
wrestling
match.
while we talk wrestling.
More of that.
Like we said, so. We have some greatness right now.
Oh, sorry.
While we talk.
Let me get focused. See, now I'm losing focus. I really want to watch this match. But so listen. Okay, all right. So they have the match at Hell in a Cell. Becky won, which of course the crowd went crazy. This is her second title run in her career as a women's champion. And in October, which is so awesome, we are literally watching what we're leading up to in the podcast, or is it the live cast, leads into this legendary first ever all women's WWE champion.
Last woman standing match.
You want
to set up the Evolution?
I want to set up the Evolution.
Oh, okay.
So I want to
check out our Evolution episode.
Oh yeah, we have a separate
on
Evolution.
YouTube. We actually have a whole segment on it.
Have
It's
a whole
not
show.
it's not recorded with video, but there's good audio on that. Definitely check that episode.
That's when we were just a podcast.
Yeah, just a podcast
Yeah.
that
Was
was
it a live cast?
Yeah, it was
Slash
a live
the
cast.
podcast?
Yeah, I'm trying to be a live cast. So we're running around with it.
I don't know. If
But yeah, this leads to the evolution of first all women's WWE pay per view. This is the first ever last woman standing match in WWE history, and this is honestly this was the biggest thing. Charlotte and Becky feuding is the biggest thing going on in WWE. It was at Evolution, and honestly, it is now. Oh, I mean,
I don't think maybe since let's say since Trish versus Lita, I don't think we've had any women rivalry on the level of like a Austin Rock, a Triple H Austin,
I would say
a Mankind,
probably Charlotte and
Triple H.
maybe Charlotte and Sasha in like 2016. When
The
it was
Hell in a
like-
Cell
the Hell
match
in a
was
Cell,
amazing too, yeah.
But I think Becky even took it to another because organically the crowd just got so behind Becky that
But that's exactly what I mean as far as that level, because
yeah.
Austin Rock, that was natural. They were both stallions, kept on both sides, opposite ends, and then when they clashed, it was just ridiculous.
See,
Same
that's-
thing with Triple H and Cactus. You put them together,
Yeah.
Cactus and Big Foley, Dude Love, Mankind.
I mean,
you
speaking of Austin, we
Mick.
calling Becky Stone Cold, Stone Cold Becky Lynch, Becky 316 because that's the way her popularity is just naturally growing. That's how her level of savagery and badassery she's starting to get to. So I would not mind personally if Becky Lynch pulled out a stunner.
Me either.
I wouldn't mind
I would
that.
love to see that added to her arsenal. Stunner into Disarmer.
Or because sometimes maybe sometimes they don't want like let's say like she goes against Ronda Rousey.
I think she does need a move after she does the.
Because you can't tap. It's not. I don't think you should
The
tap
back
everybody
suplex.
else. Yeah. I don't think everybody should get tapped out.
Yeah, I
everybody
don't think
should
so
get tapped
either,
out.
because
when it
sometimes it
keeps control.
diminishes a character when
Yeah.
you tap that person out a little
Exactly.
too much.
So that's why, exactly. That's why she should get like a stunner or something like that. I don't know. I would love a stunner personally from her.
Yeah, so
Which is so at the end of this match. So Becky Lynch won the match.
this
against
leads to
Charlotte.
Hell in a Cell.
No, we already passed that. So we're at Evolution. We're literally at the match we're watching.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So
Which we were at.
So we here at Evolution. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. So Becky won in an awesome match. To bring it back, she won by powerbombing Charlotte through a table, which she lost her belt first. You know what I'm saying? So she retained her belt by doing that. And at the end of the night, all the women came on the ramp, and her and Ronda Rousey clashed their belts up. Clashed their belts together. But later on that night, Becky went up to Ronda, just like, what's up, champ? What's going on, champ? Looking real good over there, champ. Because the next pay-per-view after this was Survivor Series,
right.
which would lead to Ronda versus Becky Lynch. And when they announced that
I
was
don't think we
immediately
hyped up
the biggest
This
thing.
last woman standing match as much as we should, though.
Oh, so
I don't think people understand the level
Please, let's rewind it because
Of
this
competition in this match.
matter of fact, yeah, I don't think we did. Yeah, we just can't breeze over this match because this was the best match of the night, and
To steal the attention off of Ronda Rousey, which at this time, because it's not too far off, at this time is taking all the media attention.
Yeah.
She's actually really earning her fucking spot, and I got a lot of respect for Ronda Rousey right now. So for you to steal the show with Ronda as the main event, that's a big plus. And both of these women, they took it to the crowd, they took it to the ringside.
this was a hard.
down.
The
this
arena
is a-
was going nuts, and
We were going
Evolution,
crazy.
like we said, we got an episode. I talk about it, but Evolution was the first ever event, and I've been to multiple NXTs. I've been to multiple WWE events, Survivor Series, SummerSlams. I've done SummerSlam 3 years in a row, and never have I felt the electricity that The Rock talks about from the crowd. I've never felt it in my life like I felt it during the Evolution pay-per-view.
Absolutely.
And just
To piggyback.
just to
go ahead.
show how me and Rich are talking, I'm like, do you feel that?
And like when he
Do
said
you
that,
hear that?
When he said that, I literally felt it. And I've been to
the
multiple events.
electricity,
I've been
goosebumps.
to 4 WrestleManias. I've been to multiple events myself. I never had a feeling like that. When he said, "Yo, Rich, do you feel that?" Like we literally like the felt like maybe because we were shaking, we felt like the entire building was just
Bro,
shaking.
the whole stadium
We
was
felt the
shaking.
electricity. The electricity that The Rock talks about. We felt the
That's
electricity.
no exaggeration. We're not trying to boost it for.
It was also it was the best. It was
crowd reaction off of
Nah, it was,
people
yeah.
listening to this for
It
their
was.
reaction to nothing. But
You definitely gotta.
ridiculous.
You should
yeah.
have been.
And this match was it was just hard table shots, kendo shots. This match was just hard hitting. The entire event, all the women did their thing on this, but this stole the show.
Yeah,
It should have been the main event, but I mean, match
It
wise,
definitely did. But
match wise,
now-
it was the main event.
Coming off of Evolution, Becky Lynch is officially the man.
She is the man. This is officially
That man.
this is the official Becky Lynch era that we are in right now.
Because there was no hashtag give Becky a chance.
It wasn't.
She's taking everything. She's taking everything that she's earned right now.
Personal.
She's not just taking it personally, but she's going after it. She's going to get it. Nobody's stopping Becky Lynch right now.
Nobody
I mean-
at all, not even Ronda Rousey.
Nobody at all until
Oh my god.
Yo, we back. My bad. Everything was on.
until we get to the actual build up to Survivor Series, where she's trading a lot of social media blows with Ronda Rousey, but finally, not the men, the women with Becky Lynch leading invade Raw.
And,
And-
like destroy him.
They end up destroying the whole roster. The segment opens with the Raw Women's team in the ring. Camera cuts to the Titantron, and what do we see? Becky Lynch with Ronda Rousey in the Disarmer.
Just
Comes out by herself to face the Raw Women's team. Then all of a sudden, the SmackDown team swarms. Now, unfortunately, we have Facebreaker, Nia Jax, which, God honest truth, I wish I could just tell her.
Release Becky Lynch. Release Nia Jax. Is that what
Oh
you're
my
calling for?
gosh, you know.
Listen, Nia Jax needs to go back to development. She's working this angle with, she ends up giving a stiff punch to Becky Lynch, and this was a legitimate punch. This was not held at all.
She gave her a concussion.
She gave her a
You know the
concussion,
story,
broke
you know.
her nose, pretty much made Becky Lynch lose her opportunity to face Ronda Rousey, and now she's off
Took away
Survivor
that
Series.
opportunity, man. She took away that huge opportunity.
The fans went nuts on Nia, and you know what? She's using it as a character. I respect that. That's cool and everything.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a legitimate issue that was brought up with this concussion
Yeah, it's not the
situation.
first time she's hurt somebody.
Yeah, we're pissed off that Becky Lynch in this run right now got hurt. But now there's a history of you hurting
She
people.
hasn't wrestled a match since.
So, to Nia,
You absolutely, undoubtedly, unquestionably, 100% completely suck.
You know what happens?
and I know who she did it for.
Who?
I did it for the Rock. I did it for the people.
You think you thought I'm wearing fatty? But you know what happens when you hurt the man? You know what happens when you throw a stiff punch? You know what happens when you continuously to hurt people, but
Tell
you
them.
still get a push?
Tell them.
You probably
I need to
did.
find out.
You probably did do it for The Rock because you're his cousin. But here it is. Listen. I want to be fair. All right. Everybody works hard. Nia Jax has worked hard.
No,
just
she
just
does.
as hard as
She
anybody else. All right. She's put in the work. She's put in the time. She's put in the hours, and she's also The Rock's cousin. So you know what, Nia Jax? You know what happens when you punch Becky Lynch? Huh? You asshole. God damn it.
So Nia's been on our list ever since, but
Sorry, Nia.
this does not hold back Becky Lynch. She was taken off the card, but just the visual of Becky bleeding
Oh.
to end Raw, she's in the rafters like, I'm still here.
Awesome.
Bring it.
It was awesome.
That just fed the fuel.
It was just like how we
It fed the fire
compared-
more fuel. Like,
we compared, Becky to Stone Cold. That's kind of the run she's on, and it was just like when Stone Cold it was the double face turn with Bret at WrestleMania 13, and he had him in a sharpshooter, and he sat up from the sharpshooter, and all the blood was trickling down his face, and Becky was at the top of the ramp with all the blood coming. It was just.
And the thing is, coming off this match, she's still like, I want to go. Put me in the ring. Becky missed one SmackDown after a broken nose. She missed one SmackDown after a concussion. Most people will miss a month, 2 months.
Yeah.
Wear a face mask to the ring after that.
I think she would look sexy in if she did put it on. Just saying. She
The
did pull it on.
grotesque Becky Lynch.
So who knows? That might be cool.
Only Cody can do.
But this is just fueling her legacy, adding more to who the man Becky Lynch is. And right now, she's come back. She's back, like we said, she only missed one SmackDown. She's about to go against Charlotte and Asuka for the title.
Yes, in the first ever triple threat women's.
Another first ever.
Yeah.
Another first ever
Another
for Becky
first
Lynch.
ever.
Let's hope that she.
Like it's a trend.
Yeah, I mean, it is a trend between the four horsewomen.
Yeah.
The real four horsewomen of the WWE. You know, this is just her legacy. It's building, and I'm just glad that we're here to witness it, and not only witness it, but appreciate it along with the ride. Because I feel like unlike a Stone Cold and unlike like a Rock,
We were too. I mean, we could comprehend it because we were young, but at this age
we
now,
knew they were great, but we didn't
we didn't watch
sit
their
back
entire
and say
lives.
they're the greatest right now. Like, it was different. We had too many people to give that kind of notoriety to. The Attitude Era was crazy loaded with talent. Like, and now it's like, oh, we finally got a breakout woman superstar.
Yeah.
That outside of Ric Flair's daughter, with that legacy, there's someone else
Just
who
naturally.
can stand naturally. So outside of a Rousey, who built her whole MMA legacy, UFC legacy before coming in, there's finally another person who can stand toe to toe, and who not better than the person trained by Finn Balor,
Yeah,
you know?
man. I would love to see. I would love to see. Just a quick side note. Somebody asked Finn Balor. It got posted up too that would he love to go to SmackDown? Would he go to SmackDown? I was like, yeah, I would love to go to SmackDown. I think Becky Lynch probably gonna end up coming over to Raw, but I would love to see kind of kind of something. That would just be kind of cool, even if it's just like a too sweet in the ring between them. Just she trained him. So I mean, he trained her, so that would just be dope.
Yeah. Well, that's where we at.
This
We're
is
all
where
caught
at.
up.
Yeah, this is
We're all caught up with Becky Lynch.
all caught up with
and
Becky.
You guys understand now why she has so much fan favor and why she's a big deal. Support Becky Lynch, support women's wrestling, and support the podcast, which is also the live cast now.
Please use the hashtag Kayfabe Avenue to discuss everything that we talk about, including Becky Lynch and various top fives that we throw out.
Also follow Kayfabe AJ, Kayfabe Focus, and at Kayfabe Livecast on IG. Make sure to check out our picks. We give you a schedule when we drop stuff. You will be in the know of all wrestling news, as well as this week in wrestling, which we'll prepare for you shortly.
Yes.
And just keep supporting, keep watching. We're gonna give you as much content as we can. And on that note,
I think that's it.
That's about it.
Yes, please like, share, and
Check it out.
subscribe. Kayfabe Av Livecast, Kayfabe Focus, Kayfabe AJ. I'm Mr. Richie Moon. That was Kayfabe Av Livecast or the podcast.
take us home.
Ooh.